Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle and triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. So I want to talk about pronouns.
Okay.
Why? What does it mean?
Okay.
Does it hurt people's feelings?
Oh, heck yes.
Yeah. And how much time do you give people in the world to, like you're working with the same person for 10 years and then all of a sudden you're flipping that, how do you work that? How do you like correct it?
Okay. Let's see.
Well, first question, pronouns.
First, what are pronouns? Pronouns are, and we had a question on HRT, but I'll get back to you, I promise.
Okay.
Pronouns are just the words used in place of other words, so we don't have to keep saying someone's name over and over again or an object over and over again. It's like, this microphone belongs over there. Could you please move that microphone? If you had to say that all the time, it would sound ridiculous. The microphone belongs over there. Could you move it, please? Is a lot more natural. Yeah. Where is your father? He's over there. Instead of having to say my father is. That's what a pronoun is. It's just a smaller word used in place of other words. In the English language, it is a gendered thing. It's not gendered in all languages, but pronouns are gendered in the English language. So he, him, his, she, her, hers, they, them, their. So if someone identifies as a man, call them he, him, his. If as a woman, he, him, her, she, her, hers. And for non-binary people, a lot of us use they, them, their. And it is actually grammatically correct. People is like, you're not more than one thing. You can't be that. And it's like, actually, the singular they has been used since like the 1300s in literature. So yes, it is a thing. And people say it all the time. It's like, where's your dad? They went down to the store.
Yeah.
You'll hear people, you hear people often will say, use they instead of he or she.
They're over there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're over there.
Totally.
Kind of so, but when it becomes to being about addressing a trans person, it becomes a big issue for some reason.
Yes.
So I'm going to try to answer all your questions pretty succinctly. If someone's trying, and they slip up, I'll just remind them. It's like, hi, yeah, no, it's they or she now, not he. It's like, oh, sorry. Actually, don't say sorry. Just say thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Because if you say sorry all the time, you're forcing that person into the emotional aspect of having to forgive everybody all the time. Just thank them for the reminder and move on. Now, for people who are making no effort to get it right, or people who are being malicious about it, because there are people who are out there. It's like, oh, you're trans. Well, sir, or something along those lines. That's something. Oh yes, I'll talk about that in a moment. That's when you're deliberately trying to harm somebody. Honestly, if people are going out of their way to use the wrong pronoun for somebody, you're saying, no, I do not accept you for who you are. No, I hear what you say, but I don't care. I know you better than you know yourself.
Wow.
I don't believe your identity is a real thing, so I'm not going to acknowledge it. So
Wow.
that's what misgendering does to somebody. So using the wrong pronouns on purpose, using um, using the wrong honorific on purpose, calling me sir or calling, I mean, seriously, how can you call me sir? And,
I love it.
and, um, or, calling a trans man, ma'am, though that's just being malicious. And that's someone trying to, um, to hurt you. And you're not, what they're doing, they're not ever going to change a trans person's mind about being trans.
Yeah.
What they're
Yeah.
going to do is let us know that you can't be trusted. You're someone that I have no interest in learning, anything more about you. Because
Yeah.
once you started misgendering me on purpose, you can't be trusted. And I probably can't work with you. Um, and that could be what they're looking for. They could be looking to drive you out. However, nowadays, in a lot of corporations, the person who is being the jerk is the one who can get fired. Not everywhere. A lot of small companies, we're just not comfortable working with you. You're fired.
Wow.
Was
Yeah.
legal up until last year.
Wow.
Yeah. Excuse me, a year and a half ago. It was summer of 2020. Bergerfeld decision said that said that you can't fire people for being gay or trans. And up until that point, it was legal in many states to fire somebody for being trans. It's still
Wow.
legal to kick people out of an apartment because when you find out they're trans in a lot of states. There's been a federal decision on that.
Wow. We have a Facebook user that said misgender. I was not aware of that term. Stay strong.
Thank you. And yeah, a lot of things around the trans community is not known, and that's
Yeah.
that's why the politicians um, get away with this. They try to treat being trans as a mental disorder or a threat to the community, and when really what it is just people who are born slightly different than everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's not a mental disorder. It's not a delusion or a paraphilia or anything. It's just who you are
Yeah.
and just the way you were born. But a lot of people, especially on the far right politicians nowadays, and not everybody on the far right even, there are trans people who are very right wing, believe it or not. But they want to turn it into something that it's not, and use trans people as the boogeyman that they used to use gay people for. And then gay rights came along and nothing bad happened, so now they have to find somebody else to blame everything on, because blaming racial minorities is not good, not
Yeah.
something that people really will go with anymore.
It's so crazy that you just said that, because Linda just popped up and said, does the transgender receive more discrimination than a regular who identifies as just being gay?
Okay. Two things there.
It's kind of
Transgender is an adjective, not a noun.
okay.
So we're not the transgenders. We're just transgender people. And because when you do that, you're othering us. You're saying, the transgenders are these people over here. The regular people
Yeah.
are people that you can respect. Um, that's something that a lot of people do, is they try to turn us into a class of other, which is something that I will always fight back about. Even if it's well intentioned, I will tell you, don't do that.
Yeah.
um
Well, that's how we learn.
I
That's
am
how we adjust,
yeah, exactly, I am a regular person. um but do we face more discrimination? Do transgender people face more discrimination? Hells yes. Sorry for the language, but
No, that's okay. Hold on.
it's we even face discrimination within the LGBTQ community. There are gay people who do not accept transgender people.
Wow.
So it's again, and it's because of a lot of misinformation out there. Um, Trans people are just, um, you're, thank you, Linda. Um, they're trans people are just people, and a lot of the misinformation out there is designed to say that no, we're not. We're weird. We're different. Um, and that's not true. Actually, I think being transgender is the most boring thing about me. You know, it's like I have 2 master's degrees. I've seen opera.
Wow.
There's all kinds of things about me that are way more interesting about being trans, but I can't stop talking about it
Yeah.
because people want to categorize me as something bizarre.
Yeah.
And if they would just listen, pay attention, they would realize, you know, I'm I'm just an average person.
100%.
Slightly above average actually, but that's just me.
I love it. Can you explain, because it's come up a couple times, can you just talk for a couple minutes on binary, non-binary, they, them?
Yeah. The gender binary is there are men, there are women, there's nothing else. And um, through modern gender theory and through like looking at psychology, neurology, and various things, we found that even biological sex isn't clearly this or that. It's a spectrum. Even biological sex can become is on a spectrum. Um, so if your body can be on a spectrum, then obviously your brain can be on a spectrum. And so
Yeah.
some people, we don't really identify with being a man or being a woman. We're something somewhere in between, or maybe that concept doesn't even really register, just because of the way we're wired. Um, so a non-binary person, they can present any way they want. I present more feminine. Um, they're very masculine-looking people that will tell you, no, I'm an MB. I really don't identify as a man, so don't call me he, him. Even though they're standing there at 6'3", bushy beard and shoulders,
Wow.
they could still be a non-binary person. It's just someone who in their hearts of hearts, or more likely in their brain structure, does the term man or woman does not resonate with them.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's one of those things that a lot of people, again, it's harder to explain. Um, I hope that wasn't me.
That was
Uh,
me.
oh, okay. Um, so yeah, it is harder to explain. Honestly, it's just basically I know myself. I don't think I'm a woman, but I know I'm not a man. Is how I often will say it.
Yeah.
Um, I I still have a hard time saying that I am a woman because that doesn't really resonate like in my brain. Even though I really enjoy looking feminine, and I enjoy you know presenting like this. I mean, actually, I'm using my forced day off from work to shoot some videos for my YouTube channel. So I'm actually in my costume for
Yeah.
my YouTube channel, and minus the glasses. I'll take those off later. So yeah, sorry.
I was on your website, Addison's Agenda, right?
Yeah.
addisonsagenda.com. And I came across um, modern gender theory.
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Yeah. Modern gender theory is a cross disciplinary way of looking at gender. It's divided into 5 areas: biological sex, gender identity, um, sexual orientation, romantic orientation, and gender presentation. And these 5 areas are things that people think are like the same thing, but they're actually subparts of gender overall. So, biological sex, um, the way you're built, the way you relate to your body, the way that others relate to you because of your body is part of your gender. It's not gender at in and of itself. Sex is not gender, but it is part of your gender because a body has social and cultural ramifications for the individual. Um, Gender identity, that is the part of that is the brain knowing itself. And we know from those twin studies, we know from people with intersex people, that gender identity has its basis in brain structure. So the way your brain relates to your body, it's not neither controls the other, but they both go part of your gender. Then there's sexual orientation. One of the things that kept me from realizing that I'm trans was that I really like women. And growing up, the idea was that trans women are just gay men who take it a step further, and that prejudice was in me. It was part of me. So I had to unlearn that. And once I did some research on it, there are lots of gay trans people. So lots of trans lesbians. There are lots of trans gay men. But there are also straight trans people, and bisexual and pansexual. So your gender identity does not actually control your sexual orientation. Similarly, your romantic orientation, or a better term for it, I think, is affectional bonding. Your ability to form friendships or close bonds with people. Do you tend to form bonds more with men, with women, both equally, people who are somewhere in the middle? Who is it that you're most likely to form an affectional bond with? And again, it's not the same as sexual orientation. Think of the bromance. There are many men who form affectional bonds with other men more so than they do with women, but they are much more sexually attracted to women. So you get the phenomenon of the bromance. You're much better friends with your male friends than you are with your girlfriend or your wife.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what affectional bonding is. So who you form close bonds with may not necessarily be who you're sexually attracted to.
Wow. Okay.
And then gender presentation is basically how you present yourself to the world.
Okay.
As a as a trans feminine person, I present to the world as in a much more feminine manner. Yeah. Some people go for androgyny, some people go for masculinity, and some people go for mixing things up every day.
Yeah.
They can wear a dress one day and a three-piece suit the next.
Yes. That reminds me of what's the show? Is it Queer Eye? Queer Eye?
Used to be Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. No,
yes. The guy with the long hair. That's like my favorite.
Jonathan Van Ness.
Non-binary, and yeah, he dresses all crazy. I love it. You never know what you're gonna get with him.
Very true.
But he'll wear like crop top and a dress, and then the next day he'll wear like slacks and like a man, like a man's t-shirt or whatever. Yeah. So that's it. Okay. So I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So the way you can communicate to the world about your gender, how you perform your gender, your presentation is part of your gender. So it's looking at those 5 aspects of gender and how they interrelate in the individual. Wow. And is projected in the world. See, the gender binary that we talk about most of the time, you must be a man, you must be a woman, that is very socially constructed. It is, we have rules for the way a man is supposed to act. We have rules for the way a woman is supposed to act. And we teach those to our children basically at birth. We start treating boys like boys and we treat girls like girls. And so a lot of what we think of as gender, why people equate sex with gender, is actually a social construct that we teach our children. Modern gender theory looks at it from the opposite direction. It's how is the individual and what do they project out into culture?
Yeah.
And I think it's a healthier way of looking at things, because it focuses on on individual growth and acceptance than it is trying to conform to what everybody else wants you to be.
Yeah. There's I've heard of the mothers and fathers that are doing that now, where there's no gender put onto the child. So they're called they, them, and toys and every clothing, everything is just whatever the child is attracted to. They
Right.
don't lean in one way or the other, which is so interesting. I've seen both sides. People get very upset about it. And then there's other people, just like anything, people that are super passionate about it.
Yeah.
But definitely a very interesting concept, and I totally understand it. Um,
Well, toys are actually one of the ways we train people because we have the boys section, and we have the
yeah,
girls section. So you
yeah,
go to the boys section to get boys toys, and you are supposed to do what boys do and be interested in these boys toys. And you take a girl there, and if she doesn't, if she likes the boy stuff, why tell her she can't have it?
yeah,
And why tell a boy he can't have a doll if that's what he really wants?
yeah,
But you will see I guarantee you go to a toy store or just a toy section in a store, and you will see eventually someone go, no, put that down. That's for girls. You're a boy, be a boy.
yeah,
That's what we're talking about,
yeah,
is teaching people, no, you can't be what you know yourself to be. You have to be what society tells you to be.
yeah, yeah.
And
And not trying to, put any shame on my family or anything, but two girls, I'm the oldest, then my sister and my brother came 10 years after me. So there's a huge gap there. And my brother would be grabbing Barbie dolls or dolls because we had a ton of toys. And my dad would have total hissy fits
yep.
if my brother was picking up, and no shame on my dad, like I'm not trying to be
Well, that's
rude
how he was
to him or
taught.
anything. But yeah, say exactly what you're saying. My brother would get, I guess, shamed or whatever for wanting to play with any doll, anything
Right.
that was pink. So yeah, so we guide according to what we believe is appropriate in society.
Right.
Yeah.
And instead of listening to the individual, and
Yeah.
that's what causes things like gender dysphoria and, depression, anxiety, and stuff like that. When you want to be playing with those girl toys because you kind of feel like a girl,
Yeah.
but society's like a father or a mother or an older brother saying, no, put that down. What the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
Boys don't play with that. And it happens every day in this
Yeah.
country. And
Yeah.
that's what causes a lot of the psychological issues that trans people end up dealing with. It's not
Uh,
being trans. Being trans is not a mental disorder. It's the stuff that we have to go through that causes trans people to have mental disorders.
Absolutely. Yeah. That makes sense. Um, my fiance's son, um, trans male, he identifies as a straight man. So
Mhm,
he has a female girlfriend.
mhm,
And he did the same, very similar to what you did, where he thought he was a lesbian. So when he first started to come to, he thought, he was attracted to females, lesbian. And then it took about a year for it to really start. And I don't know if it was he knew and he just was like helping us adjust, or if he himself was also just kind of confused, similar to your story, where you're like you had some sort of cognitive dissonance with that.
right.
So interesting. And I when I hear him speak so eloquently about his desires and his feelings towards, look at how handsome I am, he talks about his jawline all the time because he's, starting to do all that, and how much he loves the female body, and him finally, because this is just over the last couple years, him finally being totally open with like saying like that girl's hot. Look at how hot that girl is. It just warms my heart that he has come to a point in his life where he's 100% with who he is in his identity and able to speak openly about that and be accepted. It makes me feel so good. It makes me feel so good.
Yeah, the acceptance part is amazingly huge for trans people. That is actually one of the things that helps more than anything else is having an accepting family.
Yeah.
Um, because we know that a lot of families aren't. A lot of kids get kicked out of their homes when they come out as gay or trans or any part of being LGBTQ.
Yeah.
it's you know, our homeless population, about 40% of the homeless population is um, LGBTQ people. Um,
Wow.
we only
Wow.
make up about 4% of the population overall, but because so many of us are kicked out of our homes when they're young, we make up a huge part of the homeless population because of
Oh,
that.
didn't even think of that. There is a comment from Linda that I want to read. She says, not trying to be offensive, Addison, but just want to get a better understanding. Does transgender just identify as female, or are there male transgender as well? Oh, wow. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
This
Um,
is how,
so
like, oblivious.
Yeah, trans men. That's what we've been talking about. Her soon-to-be stepson, Sabrina's soon-to-be stepson, is a trans man,
Yeah.
born as a woman, and knows himself to be a man. Born female, I should say, but knows himself to be a man.
Yeah.
I born male, but I know myself to be somewhere in the middle, but leaning toward female. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there are lots of different ways of being transgender. Um,
Yeah.
Trans women, trans men, non-binary people, and there are so many terms for non-binary people. There's genderqueer, non-binary, agender, two-spirit, but only if you're Native American. Do not call yourself if you're not a Native American who from the nation that believes that.
Wow.
Uh,
Is there a book? You
there's
need to write a
multiple.
book, Addison. Are you writing a book?
There are lots of books actually. Uh, Whipping Girl by Julia Serrano. Uh, Gender Warriors by oh my gosh, oh my gosh, why am I forgetting? Kate Bornstein. There we go. Yeah, there's many websites. There's actually lots of books out there on gender identity, and I actually am writing a book
Yeah.
based on my old Ask Addie column and video series that I'm putting out.
Yes. That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, I want to just notate just in general that you teach on this. Like, this is
Yeah,
a subject that you go into places and educate individuals, workplaces, right?
right.
Workplaces.
Yeah, I've spoken to I think my most recent one was with Girls Inc. the um, the girls empowerment
She's
place.
just she's just explained. She said thank you. So.
Okay. Um, let's and uh, it's an organization that uplifts teenage girls, and the national organization has recently started saying explicitly that they do take transgender girls and non-binary people. So they asked me to come in and do, I actually did the um, the power of pronouns is one of my presentations. They also asked me to do a full 4 hour um, workshop with them, where we take them through the different aspects of modern gender theory, explain the social and legal issues that are going on with trans people and well, the LGBTQ community in general, actually, and also talk about how people can be better allies. And that's what I do.
I
That's
love
the
that.
4 hour half day course that I do. But I also do stuff about communicating, about um, how we talk about gender when it comes to the gender binary, and how that drives our thinking. And then if you look at it from a modern gender theory point of view, so my teachings are often more um, well, they're more based on the science side of things. A lot of people will talk about like the social science. I do more of a social science and hard science kind of concept to let people understand, because a lot of people, they use science from a fifth grade reader and published in 1984 to
Yeah.
justify. Um, it's like, if you're a man, you have an XY chromosome. If you're a woman, you have an XX chromosomes, and you can't. That's not true. Actually, there's lots of XX men and XY women, and there's XXX and XXY and XYY, and there's all kinds of combinations.
Wow.
And
That's not
any
what they teach us in school.
no, it's not. That's part
Yeah.
of the problem.
Yeah.
And if you try to teach these things in school, you get a state legislature um, trying to ban all the books that would talk about LGBTQ people and trying to make sure that those subjects are never taught.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that we have to deal with, is that we are deemed being trans is deemed an inappropriate subject
Yeah.
because we're immoral
Yeah.
for existing.
Yeah.
And
Crazy.
that's something like Texas, Arkansas, Florida, Indiana, where I'm currently at, Indianapolis. Okay. Anyway, so it's it's really frustrating to have all the science out there. I mean, this is open source stuff. You can look it up,
Yeah.
and but people are taught old science and said, yeah, don't look at any of the new stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that you talked about when you first came on, I had no idea. I so appreciate that there's so many layers to it. Like there's so many different I mean, I'm definitely think I'm gonna rewatch this. It's like
Yeah, I
but
did
this
tend to
is
be
like this is
information
the
heavy, but
lack
it
of
yeah,
education that's there's such a lack of education in this arena that's keeping us all like this,
yeah,
So
and it's purposeful. That's something you have to understand,
yeah,
is that there are people out there who want to make sure that we don't talk about being trans so that little, you know, Jill and Johnny don't get the idea that they might be trans.
yeah,
I mean, they're literally trying, and it doesn't keep someone from being trans.
yeah,
If that worked, I wouldn't exist. You
yeah,
know, because I was born in the 70s,
yeah,
70 actually. So if making sure that I never heard about being trans, the only thing not hearing about non-binary people did was prevent me from putting words to it. I
yeah,
still had the same feelings. I
yeah,
still didn't like men that much. I was still much more attracted to women. I didn't like being a man, but the only thing, I was trans, even if I didn't realize it myself.
mm,
Um, so the terminology and learning about other people does not turn you trans. It's just it just makes you ignorant, and it makes you treat other people poorly.
yeah,
That's the only thing, being ignorant about anything.
yeah,
And there are so many people out there who are trying to keep people ignorant.
yeah,
They're banning books by Black authors that have nothing to do with critical race theory because they don't want people to understand how poorly Black people have been treated in this country.
absolutely.
They're blocking LGBTQ books because they don't want people to understand how poorly LGBTQ people are treated and that we're actually really normal if you just get to know us.
Yeah. The one
So,
thing that I don't understand is it's just people have other like things that they do behind closed doors that's not even that big of a you know what I mean? Like we
yeah,
do all sorts of things behind closed doors, like in or behind closed doors, out of like who cares? I just don't understand what the big deal is to me. It's like let them live their best, let everyone live their best life. Like why does any of it matter to
that
anybody?
that
Um,
is a good question.
it's just
And
so baffling to me. Like I would never go to someone's house and be like, "How dare you knit sweaters?" Like I can't believe you knit sweaters. Like it's the same. Like who cares what people are doing?
yeah,
Um,
no, I
it's just
understand. Yeah.
baffling. Absolutely baffling. Linda said this is very enlightening and a lot to understand. So I can just imagine the challenges that the LGBTQ community are confronted with on a daily basis. Unfortunately, American wants to whitewash everything to make it look like Leave It to Beaver and not deal with the facts of America. And it's all overall prejudices across the board. 100%.
Yeah.
And Linda's African American. Yeah, she's got a crazy story. Her daughter um HPV got HPV, and the doctors didn't inform her on the fact that HPV can lead to cancer, and she died. Yeah, insane story. She's a wonderful, and she has a community that she helps enlighten about HPV and how, you have to really watch that because it can turn into something um,
Yeah.
dreadful, absolutely dreadful. So thank you,
And there's
Linda.
a vaccine for it. What's
Yeah,
really frustrating is there is a vaccine for it,
yeah,
but there are places that are trying to ban the vaccine because it might encourage people to have sex.
yeah, I bet. Yeah, I bet. And that's one of the things she talks about is the HPV. We talked for a very long time on that. The shot, making sure everyone has that shot. Listen, Addison, what's some advice for people that are struggling with their identity?
Um, Read. It's what helped me. And it's hard to give generalized advice because everybody's situation is different. You know, there are some kids that they know they're trans, but they dare not come out because they'll end up on the street.
Yeah,
Um, so, in general, know that there are places out there to help if you're in a situation where you don't feel safe to come out. Um, there are people willing to be in community with you. Every city has their own Facebook group.
yeah,
Here in Indianapolis, it's Queering Indy, and I'm
yeah,
sure down in down in Florida, if you searched queer or LGBTQ groups for your city, you'll find several.
yeah,
Um, it's make connections and you know do what you need to do to stay safe. I'm in the trans community. I'm actually very privileged because I figured myself out late in life. I already had a good job. I already had a house. I already had uh, a child and an ex-wife. Um, but people, and a lot of that's just because I didn't figure myself out until later in life.
yes.
But
Okay.
people who are younger, they don't get those same advantages.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's like I said, it's hard to give advice that's not tailored because everybody is in a different situation. And I come from a situation where I could just say, all right, figure myself out. I'm at it now, deal with it.
yeah,
Not everybody can do that.
yeah,
So I don't like giving generalized advice other than we're here
yeah,
and we're willing to accept you and you will find friends who are willing to accept you. But also be prepared that you're going to lose friends when
yeah.
you come out, and you're going to lose family when you come out.